Good afternoon, all, and welcome back to the Open Classroom Civil Designer Software series. I trust everyone is safe and well. As I announced on Friday last week, we're going to change things up a little this week by dedicating all 4 days to sheet files and drawing production generation. So, as per the image you're currently seeing, today we'll be covering plan views and title blocks with Andrew Cole, Wednesday cross sections, Thursday long sections, and Friday we'll be covering the composite drawing, which includes a combination of the plan view, long section, and cross sections. As always, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar floating dialog to ask us any questions you may have during Andrew's presentation. So without further delay, Andrew, please take it away.
Thanks, Charles, and good day to everyone. In today's webinar, we're going to be looking at utilizing the Civil Designer sheet files or plot templates to create tender or construction drawings like the one I've got on my screen. With the Civil Designer sheet files, this whole process can be fully automated. So today I'm going to show you how to customize your plan sheet file. Okay, so initially let's look at when you would use the sheet file. So when you run the plot generate function to generate layouts or separate drawings, you would normally go browse for a sheet file. This is the knowledge base software folder that we normally install in your public documents. Okay, and this folder would have some symbols, various items like your road templates, and then your sheet files as well installed in it. So these are just the default sheet files. And in this case, I'm using the standard A0 plan sheet file. You can plot to various sizes. The default sheet file is in an A0 format, so you can always plot down to A1, 2, 3, and 4. You can create layouts, dynamic paper space layouts that update, or you could generate to a separate drawing if need be. And with BIM being the trend these days, you can also generate your BIM codes and document numbers in your plotted drawings. I'm just going to cancel out of there and select to create dynamic paper space layouts. You can set your plan scales for your plotting. I'm just going to leave it at 1 in 1,000. Your paper size you could set as well. I'm just going to leave it as an A0 for this exercise. Your grid settings, the grid interval, grid pen, and then you've got grid types that you can set. Your grid type, you've got an option of full grid lines, vertical, horizontal lines, or you could just use grid crosses, which in this case are at 25 millimeters. Okay, I've got some predefined plan areas. I could have used the auto-define to define some new plan plot areas along my road alignment. But in this case, I'll just use those predefined areas. We have a new plan and global titles dialog that allows you to insert all the text in one dialog, and those will be used in all your layouts. So previously we would prompt you for each individual text item. These are those text items that you insert with the angle brackets that the program then prompts you for the information. But in this case, we've got a single dialog that can optionally be applied to each layout. Okay, so I'm just running the plot routine. In this case, we've got 11 dynamic paper space layouts that are being generated. Okay, so let's just have a look at one of them. You can see this is a road plan layout, and we've generated some road curve data in this particular plot routine. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at today, is how to customize your plan sheet file, create your own custom sheet file with your own title block in it. So to show you the sheet file editing, we're going to go to the applications, the sheet file editor, which is a totally separate application inside Civil Designer. You can see the tab looks a little bit different to the standard drawing tab. Okay, that's untitled at the moment as well. I'm just going to select this blue rectangle, which is the sheet file global region. So that's the area that gets plotted, the portion of your drawing that gets plotted. We're using A0 units, and we allow for a margin at the top and the bottom, and then left and right of your A0 sheet. So we're using 800 and 1100 instead of the 841 and the 1189 of your standard A0 sheet. Okay. So maybe I can just show you in the sheet file settings. These are the sheet file editor settings. You can see I'm just going to press F1 just to launch the hub file. And there is a note here and a little picture to show you that 00 coordinate at the bottom left, and then the 7880 11,000 at the top. So normal Cartesian coordinate system. In the sheet file editor, we work in tenths of a millimeter. You can see that in the hub file as well. So what I'd like to do is show you how to design a new plan sheet file from scratch. The first thing would be, let's go save this sheet file. I'm just going to go file save as, and I'm going to be generating or creating a key plan. So I'm just going to call this key plan sheet file. Okay. Always good to save your sheet file with a different name. In this case, it's a brand new sheet file, but same principle. So I'm going to draw in, and under the draw, there's a global lines. So by default, we've got the global region. So I'm going to draw in some global lines just to show you that you can actually draw in your global lines. Although there are other ways to do it, you can also load in a title block. But in this case, just the basics. So you can draw in global lines as I'm doing, or you can draw in global text as well. I just want to put in some geometry construction lines at the bottom there. I'm just going to make it 60 just to be able to put some text in at the bottom of my sheet file. And then maybe just to centralize it, I'll use perpendicular bisector just to centralize that between 2 points. And then maybe just split through there as well. Okay, so just going to draw, I just want to draw in that additional line at the bottom of my sheet file. Okay, and then to draw in the text now, so draw global titles. Okay, so this is just standard text. This would be my key plan text. Just to set the size maybe a bit bigger. Bottom center should be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in, and then my scale, this is going to be the key plan scale. So these are the go fetch options. The program can extract this data. You've got your scales, horizontal, vertical, start and end chainage would be for the sections, long section, cross section. You've got various date formats, and then the drawing name and plan sheet number. In this case, I'm just going to insert the key plans scale, the plan scale. I'm going to use middle center to position it just roughly. Could have used some more geometry construction lines if I wanted to be perfectly accurate. Okay, just deleting the geometry lines. Okay, so there's our key plan sheet file almost done. Next up, I'd like to load a north sign. So this is just a drawing of a north sign. So file load drawing into our sheet file, just to position it and then to select that drawing. Okay, let me just find one. I can use that north 10, should be fine. Then one important thing in the sheet file editing is you have to assign that drawing entity, in this case the north sign, as a north sign. So when you rotate your plotted region, then the north sign would rotate with the drawing to keep the north sign pointing in the correct direction. Okay. And then I still need to draw in the plan region. So just draw region, plan region. Okay, so top left to bottom right. And then I can go File, Save. I still have to save these changes. So let's go File, Save it. Okay, and then I think that's just your basic setting up of a plan sheet file. I'm just going to start with a new one. So File, New, and then we're going to move on to slightly more advanced sheet file. Okay, so in this case, I want to save it with a different name. Remember, always good to save as, and this is going to be my new plan sheet file. Okay, so for this new plan sheet file, I'm going to be using a title block. So it's this A0 Sanral title block, which is just a normal CAD drawing. Okay. And we're basically going to take all those CAD entities, logos, etc. from the CAD and load it into the sheet file. Just one thing when you're setting up a drawing that you want to use in a sheet file, you must just set your drawing settings. So generally, we're setting the paper size as A0, but the important thing is the units. So paper units, drawing units, 1 to 1 millimeter, and then importantly, a Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, so that's what you would need to do if you're drawing something, drawing a new title block that you want to use inside or load into a sheet file that you might be setting up. Okay, so back to my sheet file editor, the new plan sheet file, and I'm loading that title block drawing. It'll ask me for my insert point, reference point, so I'm just going to use that H jump to jump to the middle of the screen and then select that A0 Sanral title block drawing. Okay, so I can just open that up. Any drawing that you load into your sheet file is treated as an XREF. So that changes in the XREF will show through in your sheet file. So in this case, that A0 Sanral title block has been XREF'd into my sheet file. So I just want to go back to the CAD drawing of the sheet file. And what I want to do is, if you look down at the bottom here, the consultant's logo, I'm going to load a proper logo in there just to show you how the changes then show through into the sheet file. Okay, so I've just deleted that text item and I'm just using some geometry just to position my logo exactly in the middle of this block. Okay, so just perpendicular bisectors. Then I'm inserting an image of the logo. Okay, just going to use the Civil Designer Company logo and probably need to scale that. So let's try 0.15 and I want to use middle center. Okay, and that looks fine. Can delete that geometry. Okay, and then I just need to save it so that those changes are saved. Just Control S to save. Okay, so I'm going back to the sheet file and I'm just going to go to the XREF Manager. You can see there is a little red icon showing that it needs to be refreshed. So I'm just going to have to unload the sheet file drawing, the A0 drawing, the CAD drawing, and load it again. And then you can see those changes come through. So there's the logo now from the CAD drawing showing through into my sheet files. So next up, I just want to load a north sign quickly again. So file, load drawing. I'm going to put the north sign up top here in the top right hand corner. Just have to find that north sign. It's this north sign 10 that I used previously. And then importantly, remember you need to assign it as a north sign. So select, and in the properties in the north sign section, I need to check the box to assign that it will rotate if you rotate your layout. Okay. And then I still need to draw in that region, the plan region. So otherwise you'll get an error if you're plotting that you don't have a region, or when you try and use that sheet file. So always remember to insert a plan region if you're not using the default plan sheet file. I'm going to go back to the roads project. I want to create a plot with our new sheet file. So going back to the road project, I'm going plot generate, and I'm selecting to use the new plan sheet file that we've just created. So quick access, new plan sheet file. Okay, I'm going to create a layout. I'm going to use this redefine all, that just deletes all the plots, and I'm going to insert a new plot region, just rotating it slightly so we can see how the north sign would then rotate. I'll just finish, and there it is. If I just zoom in at the top right just to show you how the north sign has rotated with that rotation I inserted. And then maybe just to have a look at the civil designer logo at the bottom that came through from our customized sheet file. For the next sheet file that I'm going to be working on, I'm going to be making use of the civil designer, the standard plan sheet file. So just file, load sheet file, and I'm going to select the plan sheet file. The reason for this is that we want to make use of these tables that are already built into the standard civil designer sheet file. If you want to make changes to any of these tables, you can select an item in the actual table, right click and go to sheet file settings. Otherwise you have to go to settings, sheet file settings. You can see all those tables, all the data is already in this plan sheet file. Your road alignment data, your sewer schedule data. If you want to change any of those headings, text colors, text sizes, everything can be done inside those sheet file settings. So what I'm planning on doing here is putting in a custom title block. So we're going to be removing the existing title block. Okay, I'm just putting in some geometry just in case my global region gets disturbed while I'm deleting. So I'm just going to drag selection windows, crossing selection windows just to delete all the existing CAD. I should have some global lines. I'm just using that selection cycling just to see what I've got. Okay, no lines over there anymore. Maybe just check on this side. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay, so it's just my global region that would be in place. For some reason, I don't think you can delete that global region. Okay, then I'm loading in our sheet file again. So I want to load in that same A0 Sunroll sheet file. Okay, and let's go save as. So always important once you start working on a sheet file, just to remember to save it with a different name. You might need to use that at some stage. Okay, one thing that I've noticed is if I zoom in at the top here, the title block that we loaded is a little bit bigger than the global region that I identified with those geometry crosses. So I can always just drag and snap to the nearest title block line over there. Okay, so that's just repositioning my global region to make sure the title block is inside the global region. Okay, I'm going to move my north sign. I just want to move it up a bit. I'm just using the up arrow shortcut to move something vertically. Let's try 250, and that should be fine. Just to have it up there in the top right hand corner. Okay, then next up I want to put in some prompt text like we saw in that custom global and plan line text dialog earlier. So I'm going to use some geometry just to be able to position my text. I'm just using a slope line over here from point to point. I'm just jumping to the edges of that text just to position some lines at the same sort of text size so that I can insert some text in between there. And then maybe just some perpendicular bisectors just to be able to split those lines in the middle. So it's between 2 points. Okay, just vertically and then also horizontally I want to put in. I'm going to have to use that insert to the midpoint and just to position that text correctly. So I just want to put in a center line as well. Okay, so now I can draw in my text. So I'm going to go draw global and it's drawing global titles. Okay, so this is the designer's name. I'm using those redirection brackets or angle brackets. That is the command for the program to prompt you for that information. So when you run the plot, it's going to prompt you for that information. And these days it's in that single dialog. Okay, so I'm just inserting my geometry intersection right in the middle there. So the geometry was just to position it nice and centrally with that middle center. So the designer's professional registration number I want to put in. Checked by I need to still put in that angle bracket prompt text. And then also the checker's professional registration number. Okay, so as I said, those angle brackets, the bigger than, smaller than brackets are the prompt text. So it's going to prompt you when you're plotting for that information. And that's all in a single dialog in the newer version. Okay, so I'm just going to delete all the geometry. Don't need all that geometry. It's just cluttering up my area at the bottom there. Okay, and then next up I want to put in the plan scale. So for the plan scale and the sheet number, I'm going to use draw global titles, and I'm going to use the drop down to use those curly bracket go extract items, so the program can then extract that information. So once again, the horizontal, vertical, start and end items, the scales and changes are for the long sections, cross section generation. Okay, so I'm just using this plan scale, make it 3 millimeters. Just going to position it roughly for now. You could put in some construction lines or use a ratio jump to position it nice and centrally. Okay, and then also the plan number, the sheet number that I'm inserting. Okay, and then I also want the drawing name, the original drawing name to display. Okay, so curly brackets, the program can find that information in the design, in the drawing file. And then just changing my pen, I just want to put in a normal piece of text just to show you that would show up as well. So just draw global titles. Just gonna put in a project description, in this case, our Civil Designer webinar. Okay, make that a little bit bigger and just let me put it above all these X's. Okay, so I've inserted that. I'll just need to check my regions. I have a suspicion that I might have deleted the plan regions. So I'm just going to go to Sheetfile settings and just check my plan, the plan region. Okay, so nothing defined over there, so I'm just going to have to draw it again. We draw it in the current pen, so I'm just changing my pen and then draw region, plan region, just from the top left to the bottom right. So that's the area that you want your plot to be positioned in, whatever's in your plot area as defined in the plot routine. And then I also want to remove all these X's. So just quickly, I'm going to go back to the CAD title block drawing and I'm going to remove it. Just delete it and I'm saving it. And then back in the sheet file, that XREF manager, we can go tools, XREF manager, and then just unload and reload that externally referenced drawing of the title block. And there you can see all the X's have been removed. Okay, so I think let's just file save it in its current form. And then we can move on to the roads project just for our final plot with our custom plan sheet file. So I'm going to go plot, generate again. I'm just going to use our new custom plan sheet file. Okay, we're creating dynamic updating layouts, and then I'm going to leave it at 1 in 1,000 scale. Just check the grid settings. So still 250 meter intervals for our coordinate grids. I can go next. I'm going to use the road PI and curve lists, and then we need to now fill in our prompt text, those plan and global title prompts that I drew in. Okay, so I'm just going to put in some text so we can see the design and check by items how they update. And we're applying that to all the layouts in this plot run that were defined in the project. Okay, just to show you those prompt text items that were updated, designed by, checked by names and registration numbers. And then if I go to this plan 14, I've got a few viewports that I've added over here. And maybe just to show you, if I zoom in, to see that the scale, the sheet number, and the normal text that we inserted, as well as the drawing name, have automatically come through. Okay, maybe just to zoom in to that top region of the layout, just to show you what that curve data looks like close up. And that's all I've got for today. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Andrew. That was awesome. And thank you to all who attended today. Please join us tomorrow when Cameron will be back to cover the generation of cross-section drawings. Have a great afternoon. See you all back tomorrow at the same time and same place using the same link. Thank you and goodbye.